Iguales. Hello everyone, welcome to the MUTUA Madrid Opens podcast, the official one. This is Iguales. We're here joined today by Ana Ivanovic. It's a huge honor to have you here on the podcast. Thank you so much for just passing by and agreeing to this little chat. I wouldn't call it an interview, it's more like a chat. First of all, how is Madrid treating you so far?
Amazing. I mean, I love Spain. I live in Spain, so this is not far from home, but it's such a beautiful city and amazing restaurants, and people are super friendly. Yes.
The first thing that comes to mind, I gotta tell you this, like right from the start. Back in 2008, you went to the Masters of Spain in the Northwest in Ferrol. It was a town in which I lived, and I was a kid. I was 10 years old, and you were there watching the tournament. And for me now, like obviously, I'm happy with this interview, but like the child inside of me, because you were the first star that I saw. I remember my parents telling me, "Look, there's Ana Ivanovic." I'm like, "No way! You're talking about number one ranked? Yeah, yeah, she's there." And I'm like, "Oh!" I was so starstruck. So for me to have this chance to talk to you now, it's a huge honor, really.
Oh, thank you so much. That's really nice to hear.
Going back to 2008, you were just so young when you started winning those tournaments, when all that, I don't know, all that the things that comes with the fame with tennis. How were you able to manage all that at such a young age?
I think this was one of the, let's say, most challenging things for me because naturally I'm, introvert and I love tennis. I started playing when I was 5, so I played because I love the game and I love the competition and I love everything about it. And then, winning big tournaments and becoming number one, that changes a little bit. There is a little bit different view. There is different approach from the people around you. And for me, that was times a little bit overwhelming, and this is something that I think I had to work most on, to kind of overcome because it's really funny. I feel that in my case it was a little bit like reverse.
Yeah.
Normally people are super stressed and worried until they maybe win a grand slam or become number one, but in my case it was afterwards
Yeah.
that I became a little more, stressed or worried about others, and up to that point it was more just about myself enjoying.
Okay, so I just saw a post on Instagram. I think it was like 11 weeks ago or something. It was you at a young age. I don't know if it was you were, I don't know, 6, 7. I don't. You were so small. And I'm gonna read what you said, because for me it was like what you. I'm gonna quote what you said on the Instagram. Quote: "I'm proud of her. She had a passion. She never gave up. So she fulfilled her dreams and achieved her goals." End quote. Are you? If you look back at that kid and you think about like her goals and her dreams, do you feel like the child inside of you is happy with the way everything went?
Absolutely. I'm very proud the road that I had and that I took and followed, and follow my dreams, because if I look back at the age of 5 when I was starting, it was super hard times for my country, and for my parents as well. I also have a brother, so a young family, and trying to see how you're gonna make a living, and yet supporting this child at 5 living a dream. Where does that come? But I must say, all the passion and hard work, I think they recognized and they allow me to follow my dreams, which I'm very, very grateful for. I mean, if you ask me like that, I would say, okay, maybe I wish I enjoyed a little more, because at the times you get caught up in, week to week tournaments, and sometimes it creates not unhappiness, but you're alone a lot,
Yes.
and you're a lot with your thoughts and you overanalyze everything. So I just wish I was a little bit more relaxed in that sense. But then again, at the time, I knew I was doing the best I could with what
Yes.
I had at that moment.
And do you feel like during some point in your career, you reached that calmness of,
No.
just no, never?
I don't know. I don't think so. I think now maybe yes, because your perspective changes. First of all, being away from the sport, so you can realistically look at the sport in general and appreciate how much of hard work and dedication and everything that you achieved. I think you appreciate it more. Also the emotions that you go through when you're competing on a high level, and then I became a mother, and that also changes your perspective. And seeing young kids and seeing their passions, it really changes the view. So now, if I had this knowledge now, then of
Mm.
course it would be maybe different. But like I said, it was I did the best at that time, and I can't regret that something that it was my choice at that
I
time.
think that's so important for people. Maybe I don't know, young women that are playing now up there, and maybe in 5 years' time, I don't know, they did something wrong, and you're just punishing yourself. That's really a great mindset of have of just thinking, I did the best I could. I was so young. Everything it was a lot of stuff, and I managed to do it. Maybe it wasn't perfect, but it was just as perfect as I could do it. I think
Exactly.
it's a really great mindset.
I think it's important because, first of all, no one wakes up every day feeling great, and some days you are, more tired, more emotional, and you just have to do what you can, and when you have that feeling of that you gave your best, whether if it was such a low percentage that day, you can sleep fine, and you don't have to lose your sleep over it. But the problem is when you feel that you're sabotaging something, and that's when it becomes more hard.
I saw you last year at the Oscars. I'm a big film buff. So I was like, wow, I gotta ask her about Oscars and stuff. How was the whole ceremony? You were there. How was it? Do you love films as well? Do you love cinema? How was the whole experience?
I do. I do like movies and the TV, of course, especially playing and traveling so much. You spend a lot of time, reading books and watching TV. But in the last years, I can't say I saw many movies. I was more busy, but it was really incredible experience just to be there and to feel that energy, and it was very, very special and actually super funny. There were many jokes, and everyone says it takes too long, but I didn't feel that. It was really entertaining, and to see all the stars so close, it was a very surreal experience.
Was there someone that you really wanted to meet and then you got to meet there?
Um, Not really. I mean, I would love to have met Jessica Alba, but she was not there. We did meet Christopher Waltz, and that was really nice. He's such a kind person.
Amazing.
Yes, an amazing actor.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa. I'm envious now. Paola was here a couple of days ago, and she said that when she watches films, a lot of times she's emotional. And she asked a question in here about she didn't know you were coming, but she wrote down, "What's the last film that made you cry?" First, do you cry with films,
I
and then
do. I cry so much. I mean, this might sound like a cliche, but I tell you, I didn't really have much time to watch, but and I don't really allow my kids to watch TV or
yeah.
movies or anything, but I did take them to cinema. And my middle boy was crying at the Paddington, and I cried with him. And it was recently, so
I
that
mean, it
was
was this year, I think. Yeah.
the new
Well,
one. Yeah.
oh, of course. I mean,
But I cry on anything, really.
anything really. So it's not that special crying on Paddington. The little ones, do they play tennis?
Not so much, to be honest, not yet. Yeah,
Uh,
I let them choose whatever they want to do.
I think that's great. I think that's something that many of you guys that come in here and talk to me, we've been doing this for 3 seasons. I feel like there's like 40 tennis players that came here, and that's something that from the start, like all of you started playing sports, many different sports, but it was a choice within you to just pick tennis or whatever. So, what sports do they play?
They actually love football. They're
Well,
obsessed about football, yes. But I spoke about this earlier in another interview, and I said how it's important for young kids, especially, but even for all of us to follow our passion, to do things from the heart, because then it's the most honest and the most pure.
Okay, that's great. That's a great answer. Um have you had the chance to go watch the Madrid game this past weekend, or
No, we just arrived yesterday, but I did bring them here in end of February, and we did go to the game, and they did win 2-0, so they were happy.
oh, they were happy? I'm sure.
Yeah.
Do you remember the match or?
Oh my God, I'm really They would know everything. They would know who scored and so on. But they do have all the jerseys, so they're super happy walking around the city. And
I mean, just wearing the Real Madrid t-shirt, just walking around,
Exactly.
I'm sure that was amazing for them. Um, if we go back to 2008, when you won the Roland Garros, you did lose a couple of finals prior to that on Grand Slams. Um, how do you deal with losing uh, inside the court? And I think that's the hardest thing that probably a tennis player has
Yes.
to manage.
Mhm.
Just manage how to lose, really.
Exactly. And I think this was the hardest part for me also to learn. And there are different kinds of losses. There's ones where you're like, okay, I did my best, the girl was better, that's it. There are the ones where you play super bad and it's like, okay, it was the day like this. But there are ones where you really should have won and you lost, and that hurts. And that hurts for a long time. And getting over those losses, I think it's the hardest, and it requires a lot of mental strength because it's a little bit like a muscle memory. Next time you're in a similar situation, you remember that, and it's managing to not think about that so you don't replicate the same situation. But yeah, it takes a lot of courage as well, I feel like, because you just need to, and short memory, forget somehow.
I mean, it has to be impossible, I'm guessing. And do you feel like for example, that there are some tennis players that just never get over losing, for example?
Yes, and I think you can see sometimes players who, lose a tough match or a close match, and it's a big tournament, and then after that they really struggle to replicate, that success. So yeah, I definitely think it can affect, but yeah, it's unfortunately the sport.
And how do you balance that? On one side, of course, you gotta be, as you mentioned, you gotta be kind to yourself. You gotta have positive talk with your losses, but sometimes you gotta be tough on yourself as well, because maybe, I don't know, you weren't giving your 100%, or you were thinking about other stuff. How do you manage to just keep that balance?
I think it's fine art, and you don't always succeed. And I think, maturing and changing, I became professional at 16. So, of course, I approach things differently at 16 than at maybe 26. And that's where also a team plays an important role, to kind of notice certain patterns or certain things, and help you, pull through this, or give you a good advices. And then, but, also it has a lot to do with the level of confidence that you have at that given moment.
I remember a couple of years ago, David Ferrer was here, and we talked for a long time, and he mentioned how, for example, when he was 30 years old, I think, he never worked with a psychologist before, so all his life was prepared to just win tennis matches, and then when his career ended, he wasn't prepared for what came after. So this phrase just got stuck in my mind that said, like, tennis is great, but then when tennis ends, what happens? Did you feel prepared during your whole career, or?
I mean, through the whole career, maybe not. And I think when you speak about, mental coaches, last few years of my career, I did work with one, but at that time, still, it was very frowned upon. When you work with a psychologist, it means you have a problem. Whereas now, people travel with psychologists and they realize how important part of the game that is, and actually, an important part of life. But for me, I really felt this smooth transition, and I feel very blessed and lucky that in that sense, because I really had different vision and different dreams, and for me it wasn't hard at all. And if you ask me now, I do sometimes miss these moments of competition and playing in the big stadiums and having this adrenaline rush. But for first years, I did not miss it at all. I was really content, and I still am very, very happy where I'm at.
And do you feel that adrenaline just in your life in other areas, or is it something that?
Well, this you cannot replicate. It's impossible.
I mean, of course, it could be like the love for your kids is such an important thing, for example, and that can fill your heart, but it's something
It's
different.
different. It's different. I mean, when you hit that last shot winner and you win a match, and these emotions, and the crowds and the energy, you just don't get it.
I guess it makes sense. And do you, now that, for example, this year you've played the game again, is it, even though you're playing exhibitions and you're training, is it similar or no? The competition is competition.
No, competition is competition. And I must say, I trained a little bit last year. I played the exhibition in Luxembourg when we played singles, and it was very challenging, physically to be away for 8 years and not really play much, to coming and now playing in a way singles. I enjoyed it because to be back on court and play, and your feeling is there, but your legs don't follow what your motions
Of
can,
course.
because from the outside it looks the same to people, but in reality, you realize even then even more how hard and how physical it is and how much work it has to be put in.
Is it frustrating now?
Yes, sometimes. But then I still not think too much in that way. I try to enjoy it and to still have fun. Of course, I know I'm not gonna make the shots I made, but I still sometimes do, and that makes me happy.
Of course it has. I mean, your ego as a competitor, as a top one, is still there. So just hitting those ones has to be like sweetest savor you could get, probably. I saw 1 year ago on your Instagram that you were, I don't know if it was like a music cabinet or something. You were just holding like a microphone. You were reading something. I thought, is this music?
No, oh my God, no. No, I could never sing the tune. I can't even recognize music. I'm very, very bad.
So what was that?
No, we were just doing voiceovers for a
Okay.
commercial.
Okay, okay. Now that you've retired and you're doing lots of stuff, you seem like a really active person, just doing many things, and we can see it on your Instagram, other social accounts. Um, does communication click for you as a thing that you could work on?
You mean the communication through social?
Yeah, I mean communication like this, what we're doing now, maybe a voiceover in which, for a voiceover, you gotta hit the highs, the lows, like you gotta.
That's hard.
It is hard.
I mean, I definitely enjoy, and I feel that I started playing tennis when I was 5. So my whole life I was active and in a way working, and so for me it's the same now. Of course, family is my priority, and I love to be able to have so much time with my kids, because I think it's also so precious. But at the same time, it's very important for me to have work and to have something on the side that keeps me busy, and keeps me occupied. So yeah.
To end things up, because you gotta do lots of stuff here at the MUTUA Madrid Open. I'm just gonna open this here, which was the last question that was asked here. I don't even remember who wrote this. I would have to look back, but this is something that we're doing. Just everyone that comes, just write something for whoever comes next. This question in here is, because you've done both things. Do you prefer to win a slam? It was Paula, actually. Now that I think about it, it was Paula. Do you prefer to win a slam or to be number one? What was better for you?
I mean, it's a really, really hard question. And I have to answer to have a card, because I think both are amazing achievements. But I would choose to win a Grand Slam.
Win the Grand Slam. Okay. I feel like I would say the same, even though I cannot hear.
Although, I mean, of course, being number one, it's super special. And in a way, to be number one, you kind of have to be consistent.
Yes.
To win a Grand Slam, you can also, one out of, but still, I think that feeling of winning Grand Slam, like I told you, like having that last, winner, or point.
It's just something else.
Right.
Could you write something down, a question for whoever comes next?
Okay.
It could be, I'm telling, because we've had, films, we have songs, we've had football, we've had tennis questions. Like, it could be anything, really, anything. It doesn't have to be that deep. Like you saw it was a number one or Grand Slam. So it doesn't have to be that big.
Okay.
That's a great tablet, actually.
Yeah.
I think I'm buying one. I'm getting one for myself. Okay. What's the question?
What's your hobby?
What's your hobby?
Like, in a free time, because we have lots of free time as a tennis player. So I'm always curious what people do in this free time, because it's not like you can just go down to the beach and spend the whole day in the sun. It's like a little bit frowned upon. So what people do.
What was yours?
I love reading. Yeah.
I mean, I do love reading as well. Anna, thank you so much for your time and enjoy the rest of your time here in sunny Madrid.
Thank you so much.